Hello, Room 20 and visitors. Today I will be reading Brand New Pencils, Brand New Books. Now, I've already read a book, First Day Jitters. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, let's get started. Tomorrow's the first day of school, Father said. Do you have everything ready? I do, said Gilbert. I do too, said Lola. I'm going to school with you, Gilbert. Gilbert frowned. No, Lola, he said. I'm going to big kids' school. You are going to preschool. At bedtime, Gilbert checked his brand new backpack. Inside were his brand new pencils and brand new notebooks. He was excited about being in first grade. Lola had a new backpack too. Inside was her stuffed rabbit. Lola wasn't excited. Gilbert said, Preschool is fun, Lola. Miss Duck is nice. Lola sighed. I'll go, she said, but I won't like it. Here's the picture. The next morning, Gilbert walked to school with Patty and her mother. I hope Miss Brad is nice, Patty said. Gilbert stopped walking and said, Uh-oh, what if she's not nice? Patty pulled his arm. Then we better walk fast if we're late. Maybe she'll send us to the principal. He looks mean, said Gilbert. Let's walk very, very fast. When they got to school, Patty's mother introduced them. The very tall teacher bent down. Hello, Patty. Hello, Gilbert, she said, smiling. Please leave your things in your cubby and then go sit down by the carpet. Patty hugged her mother goodbye. Gilbert wished that his mother was there to hug too. Gilbert found a cubbyhole with his name and his photograph on it. He looked at the photographs on the other cubbies. He didn't know anybody except Patty. This is Gilbert going to school, and then Miss Bird is the penguin. We'll be seeing more of Miss Bird later. Patty sat down next to a girl named Margaret, and Gilbert sat next to Patty. Patty talked and laughed with Margaret until Mrs. Bird turned the lights off and on. The kindergarten teacher never turned the lights off and on. Everybody suddenly grew quiet. Good morning and welcome to first grade, said Mrs. Bird. A boy named Philip held up a big fat book and said, I know how to read. Mrs. Bird smiled and said, Thank you for sharing, Philip. This year we will all learn how to read. And now everyone, please take your seats. Oh, by the way, here's the picture. Gilbert was worried. He couldn't read the kind of book Philip could. Gilbert took the desk next to Patty's. Suddenly, a big kid said, Can't you read? He pointed to the name taped on the front desk. It says Lewis. That spells Lewis. Gilbert turned red. He didn't know that there were names on the desks. He quickly got up and found a desk that said Gilbert. A boy was already sitting there, and the boy turned red and moved to the desk that said Friank. Mrs. Bird handed out spelling books and reading books. and special paper to write on. Gilbert couldn't see that first grade was going to be hard. So here's the picture of Lewis not being that nice, and here's the name tag that says Lewis. At snack time, Lewis shouted, "Oh boy, chocolate cookies!" Mrs. Bird turned to him and said, "We don't shout in class, Lewis. That's a rule in first grade." She wrote on the chalkboard, "Rule 1. Use your quiet voice." And then she asked, "What are some other rules we could follow?" Patty raised her hand and said, "We could say please and thank you." Mrs. Brad wrote it on the board. Gilbert knew that rule he had known and wished he had said it first. Mrs. Brad listed all the rules that they could think of until Gilbert finally added, "You should always sit at the right desk." Here are the rules in the back with Mrs. Bird, or Brad, one of them. At lunchtime, Mrs. Brad brought her class to the cafeteria. Gilbert had never eaten in the cafeteria with the big kids before. He looked for Patty, but she was already sitting next to Margaret. There was an empty seat next to Lewis, but Gilbert didn't want to sit there. He finally sat by himself. He wasn't hungry, but if he didn't eat his lunch, maybe he would get sent to the principal. As he started eating, Mrs. Bird walked toward him. "Oh, there's a seat," she said. The boy named Frank sat down next to Gilbert, and Gilbert saw that he had the exact same Martian space pilot lunchbox. If you can see, here is Patty and Margaret, and there's the empty space next to Lewis. At recess, Frank and Gilbert climbed all the way to the top of the climbing fort. Philip was a good reader, but he was not a good climber. When he tried to go up the ladder, he kept tripping on his big feet. After recess, they painted pictures to go into the rule book. Lewis was a good climber, but he wasn't a very good painter. He spilled green paint all over his desk. He yelled, "Ugh!" Forgetting all about rule number 1. Not to shout in class. So, here's Lewis. And there's Philip sitting on the ground. After they cleaned up, it was quiet time. Gilbert thought that quiet time meant nap time, like in kindergarten. But it really meant that everyone could pick out a book and read alone. Gilbert picked a Frog and Toad book and brought it to the beanbag chair. Everyone was quiet, especially Lewis. He had fallen asleep reading Goodnight Moon. There's Lewis sleeping on the floor, and here's Gilbert and Philip reading. When the bell rang at the end of the day, Gilbert wasn't ready to go home. He was still reading Frog and Toad, our friends. When his mother came to pick him up, Philip was helping him read the words he didn't know. "I know how to read," Gilbert announced proudly. Take the book home, Gilbert, said Mrs. Bird. See if you can finish it. I have homework too, Lola said to Mrs. Bird. I have to write my name 10 times. School is very hard. This is a long book. On the way home, Patty and Gilbert agreed that Mrs. Bird was very nice. When Gilbert asked his sister, "Did you like Miss Duck, Lola?" "Yes," said Lola. "I like my new friend. His name is Sam." "I made a new friend too," Gilbert said, "and so did Patty." Patty said, "No, I didn't. Margaret is my friend from dance class. She's an old friend, like you, Gilbert." "Oh," Gilbert said. He was glad that he was still Patty's old friend. When they got home, Lola got pencil and paper and wrote her name 10 times. "I can read," she said to Gilbert, and then she read Lola, 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 Lola. "I can read too," Gilbert said. He read "Frog and Toad are friends" to Lola. He guessed at the words he didn't know, but Lola said he was a good reader, just like Miss Duck. Now, I hope you liked New Pencils, New Books. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I guess I'll see you sometime soon. See ya.